Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 16th of August. Now it's 15 to 6 in the afternoon, Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my second update for the day, in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages for this moment. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you, and I will start with the quick summary of the situation on the front line and the main points of briefing from Russian Defense Ministry, today's briefing, which is about previous 24 hours. So first of all, Kupiansk direction, which is northern sector in this area, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, as a result of local scale clashes and artillery duels between the sides, Ukrainian forces lost up to 85 servicemen, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 4 pickup trucks, as well as self-prepared artillery systems, 1 US-made M109 Paladin and 1 Polish-made Crab howitzers. Next is yet again, if we are summarizing situation on the Kupiansk direction itself, initiative is in Russian hand, no doubt about that. And as I said, main question when it comes to Liman, Kupiansk, and in general Kharkov direction, Kharkov region, question is when Russian side will receive order or green light to conduct large-scale offensive operation, because I guess everybody now is expecting this Russian counteroffensive, about Russian large-scale offensive operation, about which I'm talking about possibility of which I'm talking about for, I don't know, last 2 months, maybe more, because situation gradually was moving in this direction, and it became clear quite a while ago that these little local scale gains or successful operations will eventually give Russian side good enough position on the ground to conduct large-scale offensive operations. And right now, by the way, we are in a situation when basically Russian forces are very well prepared and ready to retake control over all the territories that was lost during the regrouping in 2022 or during so-called Ukraine's Kharkov offensive. So let's see, maybe Russian Defense Ministry will greenlight such an offensive in next couple of weeks before end of this summer, or maybe in the first half of autumn, while rainy season is not in full force and ground is still more or less in condition to withstand, to allow heavy military equipment to move around the roads and the fields. Let's see. Next direction is Donetsk, which is here. And of course, Donetsk direction is usually very active. It's a local scale clashes, but still always very active. And according to Russian Defense Ministry, during the fierce fights and artillery duels in previous 24 hours, Ukrainian forces lost up to 250 servicemen, 3 infantry fighting vehicle, 4 motor vehicle, 1 US-made M777 artillery system, 2 D-20 howitzer, and 1 US-made AN TPQ-50 counter-battery radar system. I wonder how many these counter-battery radar systems have been delivered to Zelensky and his associates by US, because we are on daily basis receiving, especially lately, receiving reports from Russian Defense Ministry about destruction of these types of counter-battery radars. As you can see, heavy clashes, local scale still, but heavy clashes between the sides, and Ukrainian forces lost up to 250 servicemen killed and wounded in this sector of the front. But yet again, no one side can say that they did manage to achieve a breakthrough. It's just local scale skirmishes, and the initiative is in the Russian side, and that's why there are some expectations that in fairly short amount of time Russian forces will be in good enough positions to conduct large-scale offensive operation in direction of Avdiivka and in direction of Krasnogorovka. We may see simultaneous offensive in both these directions, and Krasnogorovka is very important because, as I mentioned a few times before, this settlement or roads that goes in and around this settlement have been used by Ukrainian armed forces for logistical means to supply not just garnison Ukrainian forces in Marinka, but also in direction of Ugledar and even in direction of South Donetsk sector of the front line. For example, in direction of Remevsky Ledge or Silent, which is one of the main hotspots when it comes to this land bridge between Crimea and the mainland Russia. But let's continue sector by sector. Next is Krasny Liman direction, which is northern sector, by the way, here. And according to Russian Defense Ministry, as a result of local scale clashes and artillery duels, Ukrainian forces lost up to 55 servicemen, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 3 motor vehicles, and 1 D-30 howitzer. Yet again, numbers do highlight that it's artillery duels, mainly between the sides, because, as I said, Russian forces are locked and ready to conduct large-scale offensive operation, and it's only a matter of order from Russian Defense Ministry, and we will see significant activization of Russian forces in Krasny Liman direction and in Kupiansk direction, or I should say in direction of Kharkov region. Let's continue. Next is South Donetsk sector. I just spoke about it. This is South Donetsk sector, by the way, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, as a result of clashes in this area, Ukrainian forces lost up to 140 soldiers, 2 tanks, 3 motor vehicles, as well as 1 US-made M109 Paladin self-prepared artillery system. Despite quite significant losses on part of Ukrainian side, Ukrainian armed forces, I did mention this morning, and I will repeat now also, that Russian forces did withdraw from Urozhaine, and this settlement partially controlled by Ukrainian forces now, and partially it's in a gray zone. And from settlement, not much is left after so many days and weeks of fierce fighting. And I say this settlement is in gray zone because Ukrainian forces don't really have any chance really to dig in, even to hide anywhere, because almost all the buildings are destroyed, and this settlement, as well as Staromayorskaya on the western side of Urozhaine, are constantly under constant surveillance of Russian drones, and whenever they notice any movement of Ukrainian forces, those soldiers are becoming under artillery fire. So this settlement is in gray zone, and I guess there will be some operational pause in direction of this Remevsky salient, at least for a couple of days before Kyiv will reinforce Ukrainian armed grouping in this area, because I don't think units that were conducting this local scale offensive operations are in good enough shape to continue their local scale offensives. And by the way, very important point, Remevsky silent, these settlements, Staromayorskaya and Urozhaine, are not even close to Russian first line of defense. That's quite important, even though I believe Western media will make from this story something extraordinary. They will probably call Urozhaine like second Moscow or something, to somehow hype up their propaganda that Ukrainian counteroffensive did achieve something. But in reality, we all see video footage from these settlements, isn't it? I did share many times on my Telegram page, and by the way, it's a tiny settlement with a couple of roads, and that's it, really. And as I said, these settlements are not even on the first line of defense of Russian army in this area. Let's continue now, and the next is Zaporozhye direction, where main hotspot is Rabotna, of course, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, As a result of clashes and artillery duels between the sides during the previous 24 hours, Ukrainian forces lost up to 170 servicemen, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 2 motor vehicles, and 1 US-made M777 artillery system. One may say that previous day was not that active, even though 130 or 170, sorry, casualty number is very big, and especially if you take in account that Rabotna is not really under control of Ukrainian forces. They are in control of northern part. Central side is probably gray zone when no one, not Ukrainian, not Russian forces have full control, and on the southern side, Russian forces are still in control of this settlement. And if Ukrainian forces did manage to establish full control over this settlement, then Kiev may say that yes, they did reach first line of defense of Russian armed forces, and this is after thousands and thousands of killed military personnel, tens of thousands in reality since the beginning of this so-called counteroffensive. After tens of thousands of killed military personnel and much more wounded, and hundreds of destroyed military equipment, including Western main battle tanks like Leopard 2s. Well, eventually Ukrainian forces did manage to reach first line of defense. If this is the success, then, well, I don't know what success word means anymore. Entire this counteroffensive was and is total disaster for Ukrainian armed forces. Just total disaster. They already lost at least half of their strategic reserve that they have before beginning of this counteroffensive. But anyway, let's continue. And next is Kherson region, which is here, by the way. And according to Russian Defense Ministry, during the clashes between sides during the previous 24 hours, Ukrainian forces lost up to 35 servicemen, as well as 5 motor vehicles, and that's it, really. Not that many information about Kherson region. 35 servicemen have been killed or wounded on Ukrainian side, and 5 motor vehicles were destroyed. This is it for a quick summary when it comes to frontline. By the way, I remind you that during the previous night, Russian forces conducted missile and drone strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of Kiev regime, and main direction this time was Odessa region. And to be more precise, Russian forces strike these port cities on Danube River, Reni and Ismail, which is here. And I did share on my Telegram channel video footage video footage with the results of those strikes. I guess this video was made by on Romanian side, and well, it's very close, really, because border between the Ukraine and Romania in this area goes through river itself. So on the left bank of Danube, it's Ukrainian territory and Reni and Izium cities, and on the right bank it's Romanian territory. And I did mention this morning when I was reporting about it that, well, with these strikes, Russian side did demonstrate its confidence. It's confidence because Romania from and let me show you those videos, man. It will only take me minute. As you can see, I do share on my Telegram quite plenty of and this is, by the way, this is long one. I will show you a short version. So this is, I believe, Reni port city. As you can see, air defense system is trying to shut down drone or missile, and well, quite unsuccessfully, because we can see explosion on there. So well, and by the way, if you notice, this video was made from Romanian side, as I understand. The distance is only a couple of 100 meters. So you tell me if that's how confident you have to be to strike in such a close range from a NATO member state. So, well, it was a risk, I guess, that was taken by Moscow, but well, I believe it was necessary to take down this port infrastructure in Reni and Izium, because those ports have been used by Ukrainian side to receive military equipment, I believe, and ammunition. But let's continue now. And RIA Novosti is reporting that today Russian FSB, Russian border guards, with the participation of units of defense ministry, they neutralize a Ukrainian sabotage group that was trying to enter Bryansk region. All the members of that sabotage group was killed during the gunfight, and well, Russian state institutions did release video footage with confirmation that all those saboteurs were neutralized. I did not share that video on my Telegram, and I cannot share that video on YouTube. Also, it's a graphic, but well, I can confirm that this sabotage unit of Ukrainian forces were neutralized. And by the way, just about hours ago, we did receive from some media sources yet another statements that despite neutralization of a first sabotage group of Ukrainian side, one more group did try to enter Bryansk region, and for this moment it's unknown if that group managed to enter Russian territory, or that group was also neutralized. I guess during this evening, we will learn some more, and of course I will share additional information on my Telegram and in the next update. And by the way, when it comes to Telegram, just look at it. This is the first post for a day, and then just look at it. How many informations I do share, informations, videos, and so on my Telegram on daily basis. That's why I am saying it's a good addition to main channels, because it does allow me to update our community in between video updates. So if you are not subscribed yet, please consider to do so. It's 2,500 of us already, little more even, on Telegram, and you are welcome. So yes, let's continue now. And next news is also reported by RIA Novosti. Very interesting news, by the way. Very interesting news, because head of Zaporozhye region, Evgeny Baletsky, did stated today that about 500 Ukrainian military personnel didn't obey orders in Zaporozhye region and refused to conduct these local scale offensive operations, I guess in direction of Rabotina, which is, by the way, 2 battalions from 3 that was directed in that area as a reinforcement. So if you remember, I was wondering how long it will take before Ukrainian forces will start break down, how long they can withstand this immense psychological pressure and hardship, when many of the Ukrainian soldiers do begin to realize, despite heavy informational vacuum in Ukraine, many of those Ukrainian soldiers do begin to realize that well, they've been fed with pure propaganda, and well, I guess we can take this information as one more indicator that day when Ukrainian forces will begin to collapse or break down is not far away, because simultaneously 500 military personnel to say no to obey orders, that's quite a deal, isn't it? That's quite something. So, well, let's hope these 500 servicemen would not be killed by Ukrainian Nazi detachment units. And let's hope they would not be sent on to conduct this suicidal frontal offensive by force, because they are quite right. They're gonna die if they will participate in such a operation. But anyway, quite interesting news in my opinion, and I decided to share it with you. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian armed forces, as a result of local scale offensive operations, did manage to improve their positions in Kupiansk direction, which is not surprising no more to nobody, I guess. Initiative is totally in Russian hands in Kupiansk direction, and by the way, even head of Ukraine's ground forces, General Sirsky, was forced to recognize that situation for Ukrainian side is very difficult in Kupiansk direction. So, well, as I said a few minutes ago, only question is now, when it comes to these northern sectors, Liman and Kupiansk, only question is when Russian Defense Ministry will greenlight large-scale offensive operation, because initiative is in Russian hands. Ukrainian forces are unable to stop Russian advance, and I guess aren't really willing to die. At least a significant part of Ukrainian military personnel aren't willing to die for Zelensky and his associates. And well, I believe when Russian forces in those areas will receive orders to begin offensive operation, it will be quick. It will be quick, and Russian side will establish control over the massive areas in Liman and Kharkov regions. In Liman direction and Kharkov region, and Kupiansk, by the way, is a part of Kharkov region also. But anyway, let's continue. And TASS news agency is reporting that this morning one ship did leave Odessa port, and this ship was staying in that port since the beginning of special military operation. It's a ship that moves these container ship, and at least for now we don't have information if Russian warships of Black Sea Fleet did stop this cargo ship, conduct some inspection or not. So all we know for this moment that this ship left Odessa, and not just that, but also left territorial waters of Ukraine. So it's interesting how will Russian Black Sea Fleet react on this. If cargo ship is empty, then maybe Russian side will allow it to just leave Black Sea, and direction for that ship, according to open sources, is one of the Turkish ports. So maybe Russian side will just allow that ship to leave. Let me continue. And the TASS news agency is reporting that Russian ambassador in Turkey, Alexei Yerkhov, did made quite an interesting statement that Russian side is working with partners on alternatives for grain deal, to make sure that countries in need will receive grain. And as I said many times before, Russian side did promise and did make the statements on very high level that countries in need will receive grain from Russia in any circumstances, and in many cases for free of charge. And I guess now Russian side, Turkish side, maybe some other states also are working on the plans to come up with some new Green Deal 2.0, and well, let's see if it works. Why not, really? And the next news is RIA Novosti's report about very significant topic. I have to be careful during comment while commenting on this information, because YouTube's algorithm and YouTube's administration don't really like when anybody talks about US militaries and their laboratories all around the world. And well, today Russian Defense Ministry did made a very significant statement that US has begun preparations for next pandemic, for next pandemic. And according to Russian Defense Ministry, and I will repeat for YouTube's algorithm, that this is statement from Russian Defense Ministry. This is official statement from official institution. It's not me made up things, some story here. So I hope YouTube's algorithm will understand this. So according to Russian Defense Ministry, US is actively working on different stamms of viruses, and this was stated by Igor Kirillov, who is by the way, I will translate entire these sentences. It will be better, I guess. So United States has begun preparations for the next pandemic, and it's studying new mutations of viruses, said Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, head of the Radiation, Chemical and Biological Defense Forces of the Russian Armed Forces. And then, quote, the United States, as in 2019, has begun preparing for a new pandemic by searching for virus mutations. We do not exclude the use by the United States of so-called defensive technologies for offensive purposes, as well as for global management purposes, by creating crisis situations of biological nature. So, well, quite a direct statement. Basically, my interpretation is that according to this person from Russian Defense Ministry, it's quite possible that United States military will use their research in this field to create some crisis situations, to create some crisis, maybe pandemic, and then use this crisis to reinforce their dominance in this world, or for whatever means. Is it possible? Well, anything is possible, isn't it? Anything is possible. And if you take into account what kind of people are ruling Western world and are trying to rule entire world, all these globalists and their puppets, well, one should really think how safe this world is until these criminals that are running and ruining basically Western world are not neutralized. So, and by the way, Russian Defense Ministry on regular basis do update society with some informations about US activity in this field, viruses and so on. And well, without reason, I don't think Lieutenant General will start talking about this topic. I mean, probably he has some very serious stuff to do. And if there was no reason, he will never even mention this topic. Let me continue now. And TASS News Agency is reporting that Switzerland did supported 11th package of anti-Russian sanctions from EU. At this point, I mean, well, nobody is surprised, isn't it? Okay, it was expectable. Unfortunate, but expectable. And well, one may say that Swiss government is under heavy pressure and they are forced to conduct themselves against Russia. In reality, they don't want to do it, but well, facts matter, isn't it? Facts do matter, and when it comes to factual data, Switzerland is acting not as a neutral state, but as a part of this anti-Russian coalition, and it's truly sad. I mean, why? But it is what it is. Let me continue, and one of the EU nations did begin to mobilize its border guards, according to RT, and we are talking about Latvia in this case. In recent weeks, we did have so many reports that Litva, Latvia, Poland is deploying additional troops to their eastern borders towards Belarus or Russian Kaliningrad region or Russia. Baltic states do border Russia, and not just in Kaliningrad, by the way. And now we have information that Latvia is mobilizing its border guards. Also, something definitely is in preparations here. And to be honest, I don't think, or I'm quite sure, none of the Baltic states and not even Poland will dare, or governments of these states will dare to conduct themselves in military terms against Belarus or Russia. I don't think they are that crazy. But I'm quite sure this difficult, as I mentioned quite a few times before, that I'm quite sure ruling class of those states are using difficult relationships with Russia and Belarus to deploy as many armed or military personnel to their borders, to the eastern borders as possible, so that when time is right, they will send those units into western Ukraine. And to do so as fast as possible, they need to accumulate significant number of forces as close as possible to their eastern borders to get to Ukraine, to get to western Ukraine in hours time. And that's what is happening, basically. That's my reading of this picture. And at this point, I don't think many people are doubting that it's only a matter of time when Poland and some other countries from anti-Russian alliance that are simultaneously NATO members will send their troops into western Ukrainian regions. It's only a matter of time, and the question is when they will stop, where they will stop. On administrative borders of western Ukraine, or they will try to enter central and southern regions also, because it does make huge difference. If they will stop in the western regions, then they will pay price for it, but this price will be much less than if they will move further east in the central or southern regions of Ukraine. And when I say less, I mean in terms of Poland, for example, I mean Suwalski corridor. At least. I don't think Russia will allow Poland to establish control over the western regions of Ukraine without control over the Suwalski corridor, which is here, by the way, between Belarus and Kaliningrad. At least that's what I would do. I will tell current leadership of Poland that, you know what, you want to take former Polish territories in western Ukraine, okay, do it. But I need control over the Suwalski corridor to make sure that my region, my Kaliningrad region, is safe and secure and has a land bridge towards Belarus and then towards mainland Russia. And I guess Warsaw will agree on this, not openly, but we will find a way to, to deal with this situation. But if Warsaw and other states from anti-Russian coalition will move eastwards from western regions and try to establish control over Kiev, surrounding regions, or Odessa region, then they are in big trouble, because Moscow will never accept this, never. But anyway, let's continue. And how long is this video? Oh, 34 minutes. Then just quick summary of just headlines. And well, RT is reporting that Bud Light sales still reeling after Transat debacle. We all are familiar, I guess, with this story of boycott of Bud Light in the US, first of all. And I did share this information in detail on my Telegram, and you can read it if you are interested. Well, go woke, go broke. That's one more prime example of that when it comes to Bud Light and this entire story. Let me continue. And RT is reporting that one of the EU countries did slide into recession, and this time we are talking about Holland, which is quite surprising. I was thinking that Holland's economy is doing great, but seems like not that great. Well, but yet again, it's only let me read it. So the Dutch economy has entered the recession after failing for two consecutive quarters. Statistics Netherlands statistics did reveal on Wednesday. So Eurozone's fifth largest economy shrunk 0.3% quarterly between April and June, after 0.4% contraction in the first 3 months of this year. Yet again, just a slight decline in the GDP, slight decline, but still it's I guess a big deal, because if economy is not rising, then it's I guess failing, and it may cause some chain reaction, and then who knows what will happen. But I guess everything will be okay with the Netherlands. Nowadays official name is in Netherlands, isn't it? There was Holland and Netherlands, and a few years ago they did make decision to leave just the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, let me continue. This is last news for today's update. So Russian lunar probe Luna 25 did enter Moon's orbit, which is great. And by the way, landing of Russian lunar module is due to where is the 21st of August, I believe, but unbelievable. TASS news agency does needs to check on its editors, because how you gonna post news about such an interesting topic and you are not sharing with public information about when exactly these lunar models should land. Well, unbelievable. That's quite a mistake on part of TASS news agency. But anyway, if I remember correctly, this module should land on the moon, on the southern polus, on one of the poluses of the moon, on 21st of August. So, well, let's hope everything will go fine. Everything will go fine, and this mission will be a success for Russian space program and Roscosmos, and for Russia. And this is it, by the way, for this update. I hope you will find it interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. That will greatly increase my chances to reach wider audience. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.